we're very appreciative of your rec-
Good evening. Good evening. Call this meeting of the Kingston Common Council's Finance Committee to order. Here at 6:35 on the 9th of October. Usually we would start with the comptroller's update, but he has had to deal with personal issues, so death in the family. I'd like for us to take just a moment to all send our thoughts to John. So if we can have a moment of silence. Thank you for that. We wish him the best and send our condolences. All right, so then we will move to the agenda. First item is New York Swims. And
Hi, everybody.
hello.
So, two grants that we applied for this year and were successful at achieving. This year, this governor prioritized a new program called New York Swims, which the initiative is to really get people around New York swimming. And communities who have pools were eligible to apply for the funding. We actually participated in an initial scoping process when they were developing what the grant was going to be. That rolled out pretty rapidly, then it quickly switched right over to issuing the grant, and we applied. We put in what I thought was a long shot, and we put in money for the pool and the beach. So the beach wasn't explicitly outlined in the grant as eligible, but we are making the argument, or made the argument that the beach is a swimming location that's provided by the municipality, so thus a pool. And so I submitted 2 grants, and we received both of them. So I will walk you through each one, and what I'm looking for tonight is the approval to spend in the first instance and create capital accounts for both projects. Start with the smaller one first, that is for the Andromeda Pool. Now, recently, as phase 1A and 1B of the deep staging project, we invested in the deep staging in the Andromeda Pool. We did a large amount of investment there, about $1 million worth of investment. And if you haven't been, I would check it out. The entire inside is all new. The pool liner is new. We have a new splash pad, lots of different great things. However, we realized after the fact that there were a couple of things that we needed to supplement with what was originally done. One of those was a more appropriate ADA lift to get folks that are of varying disabilities into the pool. So we put money in for that. We put money in to expand the splash pad. So when we were designing the splash pad, the concept in our brain was this lots of cool elements and amazingness, and the money ended up being a couple cool shooty up things. So we applied for more money for that. The purchase and installation of ADA pool stairs. The purchase and installation of a shade structure, of which there is not currently a shade structure at the pool. And a replacement of the pool pump. So for various reasons, the design that was completed for the pool as it was amended was an inappropriate size pump, so we need to replace the pump. And there is a fault somewhere in an under drain system that is not in the pool, but somewhere in the drainage to the pool in the building. And we're losing water all the time out of the pool system. So for that reason, we said, let's apply for this funding. The county did the same, they were also successful. But anyway, we applied for $180,000 from the state, and this grant required a match, so we applied for the match of $45,000. This would be a $225,000 project. The project manager will be Jack Schoolmaker, Parks. But since I was the grant writer, I'm moving through the contractual stage, and he will then manage the project from there out. So we asked for this one. I don't know if you want to do it separately or together, but the ask for this is, again, the grant would be for $180,000, and the match provided by the city would be for $45,000 capital, not in staff time. I can present the other one as well, if you want me to do both, or do you have questions about
I
that?
have a quick question.
Sure.
The pump, did you say that was new with the overhaul before with the other, or was that older?
So,
Can we sell it?
can we sell it? Yeah.
The small thing?
I have no idea, probably
The
not.
pump out of the $1 million renovation, the pump was, I think, only like $10,000, and it was kind of an addition. What we put in was a whole new filter system,
Okay.
but the pump itself is actually the pressure, and what we saw, like, everything looks fine. But our community members who use the splash pad really just wanted to see the water get more explosive out of the units. And in order to do that, we really need to increase the pump to make the water spray high. It still sprays, but it doesn't really spray to the level. And so if we add another splash pad component, which we have room to do based on how we built it initially, we'll need a bigger pump to actually push the water stronger through the system.
Okay.
So yeah, we won't need to replace the filter or anything like
Okay.
that. It's just the pressure that kind of pressurizes the water, kind of like a water pump.
All right, yeah.
Will this be completed before the next pool season, so we get the grant?
So we got the grant, we already got the grant. The grants have been secured already. This is for approvals to accept the money. So it was shocking to us how quickly they made the grant program, issued the grant, and then issued the awards. Like, we're talking less than 6 weeks after we submitted the grant, which is unprecedented. Unheard of. And more unheard of than that is how quickly they entered into contract or started to enter into contract negotiations with us. Like, this is really fast. That being said, for that particular project, we put in a project timeline of completion by the end of 2025. However, I do know that Jack has already been meeting with contractors. He's already identified, like, we already have spec'd out the steps that we're going to be getting, the lift that we're going to be getting. I think that it's going to be pretty rapid. I can't say whether or not it would happen before the pool opens. I don't know the answer to that. Hopefully. But either way, I have to spend the money by the end of 2025. So I believe the beginning of 2020.
2 questions. The, was it a bidding process?
Was there a bidding process? Not yet. There will, actually, well, depending on the price of each individual item. So like, in terms of at least how we budgeted it, actually most of the items besides the shade structure are all under $20,000 or $15,000. This is not a large sum, like, amount of money. Depending on how we choose to do it, if Jack is just buying materials and we're doing the labor, or if it's going to be one like package, I don't know how that's gonna happen. If it's a big package, it would have to be bid for sure, and anything over $35,000 would have to be bid.
Then was there a matching? Where did the match come from?
The match right now hasn't been determined. It's either gonna come from city general fund or bonding.
Do we still have outstanding debt from the other renovations at Andrade?
I can't speak for those cases.
No, the work at Andretta, was covered by the DRI grant.
Okay,
And so we were able to, all of that work, was part of we spent about $2 million on the pool out of the $5 million, $1.5 million out of the pool of the DRI. I don't think we have any outstanding bonding for the pool currently.
so that would then be come out of the general fund rather than $45,000.
Yeah, it's a pretty small amount.
Yeah.
Another option that, kind of once we authorize the project to move forward, another thing that could be done is that we could submit a communication related to the Red Cross Fund to actually pay for the match. So that could be 45,000 to come out of the Red Cross Fund as well.
Anything else?
Well, I'm glad to see all the ADA pieces that are being considered for upgrades. It's really important.
Do you want me to present another one as well at the same time, or? do you
Do
want-
we have a committee report for that one?
Let's do it if you want, but do you want to put on one? Is everybody comfortable putting both of the accounts in one committee report or do you want to?
Sure.
Yes, please.
You can also wait till I tell you about the second one and decide if you want to go on with your
Okay. You want me to write it?
Why don't you go ahead and then we'll get down.
Okay. So the second grant was also New York Swims, was for Kingston Point. And evaluation of how we're going to make Kingston Point sustainable started back in the 2017, 2018 time period. We initially started working with the Cornell Climate Adaptive Design Studio. For one semester, students came in and they proposed how we would make a resilient Kingston Point, that we are not losing sand to every high tide and every storm surge, and how we're going to maintain one of only 4 official swimming beaches into perpetuity. How we're going to get there and how we're going to not spend millions of dollars sending sand out to the river every year. So they did this whole thing. Supplementary to that, we worked with 3 individual design firms, Supermass Studio, E-Design Dynamics, and Emphasis Design, who got a grant from NewlyPick in 2020 to take their very conceptual design and bring it to preliminary design. And that was done by E-Design Dynamics, Supermass, and Emphasis. And they took one of those designs that the students made, which ended up winning an American architects, whatever the architects academy award is, and they brought it to the design. This is what their design looked like, which is a terraced beach that basically is programmatic in perpetuity. The bottom level is where you would swim and access the water now. As sea levels continue to rise, this second area would be the swimming area and would still be programmatic now, and then this third area would be the swimming area, and this would all be terraced. The boat launch would go up and over, be terraced, and there would be programming currently on all spaces, including not losing any current programming, so beach volleyball would be present, the boat ramp would be present, swimming would be present, a new pier would be installed, the parking lot would not change, the soccer field that I put in would not change, the playground would not change, this event field, or whatever this field is, would not change, the pavilion would not change. But everything on the beach side would change. They designed it, again, this is preliminary design. So this is not, these are just some renderings of what a pier might look like. Some wetland plans. This is kind of closer up of what the programmatic spaces would be. And the point would be that, let me see if I know what it would kind of look like here. From the top, there would be a step up so that with a normal high tide, even if we're losing the bottom deck, everything else is still intact. So the sustainability of this would be longer. They originally put a budget on it of $4 million. I said, we're never gonna get $4 million locally to do this. And then New York Swims came out. And we said, well, let's try. And they funded it. $4 million.
Or a,
$4 million.
what? Wow.
Yep, I know. So,
That's great.
let me be precise, because it's not actually $4 million. It's $343,345. We have to contribute $835,000. The total project cost would be $4,179,181. This is a substantial award.
Yeah.
The timeline of this is completion by the end of 2026, which is extremely soon. And so, again, it's a $3.3 million award, 20% match will be required from the city. This award has been made, my ask is whether or not we are going to accept it.
Could I also just add, the one other component other than the terrace beach that we included in the grant application is that for folks who use the beach, you'll notice that we've never had toilet facilities there that were connected to municipal water or sewer. They've always been sort of kind of like pit toilets or composting toilets or some of that nature. And so, because to be able to create more resilient bathroom facilities, we do really believe that we need to connect them to municipal infrastructure so that we don't stand the risk of having, overflows into the river if we ever have. We've currently basically porta potties now, and if we have a big flood, those porta potties are going to lift up and find their way out into the river. And so we would love to, as part of this, it actually includes extending sewer where it connects at North Street in Delaware. It would extend it down Delaware so that we can connect to the beach access road to connect a new, similar to the visitor bathrooms that we just built at the stadium, a similar type of setup to those, as well as then being able to connect the current softball bathrooms that are by the dog park that are also currently not connected to sewer either, to be able to connect them to sewer so that we don't have this risk of overflows during these large events and floods that happen on the waterfront. So that is also a part of the proposed plan. I just wanted to add that.
Is that included in this,
I believe he was just saying it.
it's, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So what would be included, I'll just, here. There it is. The engineering and design, the beach project construction, and then the bathroom construction. The bathroom construction, we budgeted $300,000 for the bathroom.
Steve?
Yeah. Congratulations on using your ingenuity to get this money. I don't know what you did, but good job. So I'm just wondering now if everything goes according to plan. I mean, this is very ambitious. What are we looking at? Time frame wise, when would something like this start? When would it end?
It has already started with contracting. If we have the approvals from the committee here, they've already, the state has already reached out to start moving through contracting. Again, there was this unprecedented amount of turnaround that they did for that. I built in a timeline, and I don't know if I have the timeline here, but I did, the full scope of the timeline that I built out was completion by December 31st, 26. 2 years.
And probably my last question. Looks like a lot. Is this going to require extra staffing to maintain everything down there? I mean, it just looks like a lot of more moving parts than we have now.
I don't know that it's anything different than we currently have now. It's just in a different place. So this has beach volleyball, which we already have. That wouldn't change. It would actually be less amount of time. Like we now have to use that scoopy thing to scoop out all the water chestnuts all the time. We wouldn't have to do that anymore because they wouldn't be getting to the upper levels. So the beach maintenance itself would be less. And adding the boardwalk and pier isn't going to change any amount of staffing. The parking lot isn't changing anything. The bathroom would be self-sustaining. We already have a bathroom down there. I don't see staffing levels changing at all. It's not gonna be gated. It's not gonna be guarded any differently than it is now. It's still, it's guarded now in the summer. And if the guarding amount they choose to change, I mean, we haven't talked about that happening. I'm not sure why that would happen, because nothing's changing besides kind of the layout of where things are and the insurance that people can continue to use the beach for long term.
Great.
I think the only thing I would say about timing, just to add to that, is that the one caveat here, and whenever you're dealing with water, is that the state wants this project to get done, but the state has different arms, and the one arm that we're gonna have to be dealing with this project is, New York State Department of Environmental Conservation for permits, because we're gonna be working, in and adjacent to the water body of the Hudson River. And so the permitting process with both, with the state, could be extensive. I know some thought has gone into that already in some of these plans, but, depending on how long the state takes to give us approval, would really is going to probably be the most determining factor of whether we can get this done in a 2-year period or not, depending on how long the permit review process takes. If they get the plans from us and then a couple months later we get the green light, but it's been our experience that sometimes it does take a little bit longer when we're working in water bodies to get permits. So I just will throw that out there as a concern about timing.
And I will say that since we're entering into this with an already completed and stamped preliminary design, we're not starting from scratch. So the design phase and the engineering phase may go a little bit faster than it would normally if I'm like starting from scratch, like I am over at the parking lot at Kingston Point that's underwater. So that will be able to hopefully move a little bit faster, and then shifting into permitting for construction the following year, 26.
I'm sorry, one last question, sorry. Will this require that the beach be closed for any length of time, or can we work around the beach?
I would say, so that's a relative question. The beach is, I think from the community's perspective, they think the beach is open all the time. From our perspective of when the beach is open, as in guarded, we would probably do as much as we can outside of that very short window of the guarded season, which is really only like 6 or 7 weeks.
Usually like June 20th through like August 10th is generally the guarded season at the beach. And so there may be opportunities for us, one, to try to work around that season, but to be able to do it in phases where like half the beach is closed and worked on. And then we switch, everyone else goes to the other side, and then we work on the other side. So I think that even during the time when it's guarded, my sense is that we would probably still be able to get work done as long as we kind of cordoned off, kind of the swimming side and then the construction zone side, and then flip-flopped it when the inside was done.
Great.
And since we won't be, the plan right now is not to modify the parking lot at all, that is pretty substantial, and that we're not doing massive infrastructural changes on the parking lot. So that would still be accessible.
I agree.
Yes, so there's a lot of steps there. Is it gonna be wheelchair accessible?
It is wheelchair accessible because the ramp,
Oh, it is a ramp, okay.
Show it, I don't know if I can show it, you can turn around. So, this gray thing is wheelchair accessible.
Okay.
Yep. So this is the existing parking lot. This is a ramp up from the parking lot 2 ways. This is like a plateau thing on top. Then this is the handicap accessible ramp down. These are walkways and seating areas along the way. These are each, like berms. We haven't fully decided on what those are going to be made out of yet, but those will act as seats also, so additional seating. This will be a constructed wetland, which does not currently exist. So we're actually building up, making this part into a wetland and building this pier. So we're permitted for it.
And then, so the pier, is that just for fishing, or will people be able to swim off of it?
They will not be able to swim off of it. It's still going to be managed as a Department of Health managed beach with a designated swimming area that I would presume is not going to actually change in terms of square footage. It might shift over, but we will not be able to swim from the pier.
All right, and then, how many years, I'm sorry, I've got all my questions. How many years will it take till we get to the top of assuming we don't stop fracking or doing anything like that? How long
Good
do we
question.
have this be?
Actually, I have pictures of that, I believe. It does it like, okay, 2080. But launch 2080. So, okay, 2050, perfect, okay. So. Move these off.
And would you be able to send us these slides?
Yes. Okay, so this, which is hard to see, is 2050 to 2080. This is the boat launch area, so this is suggesting that you're still pretty much on the bottom, if not moving up a little bit to the second level. And then by 2080, this is showing that we're much closer to the top of the boat launch, and we've already lost it, the entire bottom level, and are now on the top or second level.
So I think one of the things that our, the climate change models show is that, obviously we will and have experienced sea level rise on the Hudson River. We will continue to see that. But what this is really going to help us is that with all of these tidal surges that we've been getting, with both even full moon high tides, the round out in Hudson has flooded our beach, almost a half dozen times this year alone. And so the amount of sediment that we're losing with each one of those, but yet it's only being flooded by very shallow water.
Oh,
And so by creating extra foot or berm, it's going to really create a lot less of the traditional flooding over the next 50 years.
yeah, so this is current day 2050 and 2080. I don't know what the difference between these two things are, but you can kind of see over time.
We're gonna have the same cars.
In cars, in cars, same people, same outfits.
And then, so how much is the cost of the pier? Is that broken down?
Yeah.
It's okay. It was just a curiosity.
I guess I
It's
don't
already,
have that in my
it feels
head.
like there's already plenty of fishing areas along Kingston Point.
Part of the reason for the pier and the wetland is as a, there we go. Is a little bit of a give back to the, for the DEC as a negotiation for permitting. It makes it a little bit more amenable when you're doing construction on the water, if you're adding an environmental or ecological benefit like a wetland. So in this case, let's see. Earthwork, concrete, paving, decking, furnishing, planting, special construction, and so forth. Okay. So the pier, 950 square feet, again, this is preliminary design, right? Preliminary, which means that we're at 30%, maybe, of design. Where are they? Oh, 950 square feet. And they said cost 190K, 190,000. With the caveat that this was done in 2020. And that was based on 2020 costs. Which I will say, that also the grant was based on the budget and cost estimate of this document, because I needed to submit justification for where I got my numbers from. We did add some contingency to it, but
I think in the long term, though, I would expect there will be changes to this project.
Yeah.
During it, to be able to keep it around the $4 million mark, I think that there will be things like, if the pier was, if that just may not make it, if like, or things like that may have to change slightly. And they also, the state may decide that, that is something that they don't want, because it will create shading to the bottom of the water, and it's usually a big issue, and so that could actually fall out during the pre-permitting process, where that becomes an environmental issue.
And I mean, the reduction or the elimination of the pier would change the permitting substantially, because otherwise we're really not working in the water at all. We're working on the land adjacent to the water, although we are in nature tidal zone, so that still counts as being in the water, but not like creating a shading structure.
So Steve asked my question about timeline as far as closing the beach, but is there an example of this like anywhere in the world that's been done or?
Anywhere in the world, I can't speak to. Anywhere in New York, definitely not. Anywhere in the US, probably not. This is unprecedented, and we are champions, like we like to be in the environmental field, which is probably why this got funded. Because the state has been watching this project and is all over seeing this project from CAD to happening.
I think it was the only beach swimming area in the New York Swims grant program that was funded in the state. So it was the only beach.
Obviously, a very substantial,
Any other questions?
and that would be the project manager on this one.
Grants 1 or 2?
I think we should do it.
I yeah, so, I already did do that, and I do, is there a match on the first one? It's 180,000.
Yeah, 45,000.
Yeah,
45,000.
Yep.
And what was the exact number for the second one?
So the exact grant number on the second one is 3 million.
Oh, can you do the first, I'm sorry, can you do the first one first? Just to
Yep,
me,
so the first one is the pool.
That's
45,000.
45 is
The match.
our, okay, and then total is 180.
The grant would be for 180, our match is 45, the total project amount 225.
Okay.
Sorry.
Now we're just to scan.
Well, when I printed it, I didn't know what was coming.
It looks like it's over.
And then the second one, can you give me the numbers, please?
Yes, the grant,
That one's the one in the committee report, 3,343,345.
yes.
Okay, and the match is what?
835,836. Total project amount, if that matters, is
Yeah, we don't
Do that.
I mean, you could say if I'm gonna not include that.
4,179,181.
Project manager for both you.
No, John Schoonmaker is gonna be the project manager on the pool, because he managed phase 1 and 2 and all the deeds for the pool. So it's logical for him to be the project manager on that, and since I've managed multiple phases on the beach, I'm gonna be the project manager on this one.
Yeah, yeah, this is,
Oh, what?
we can fix that for you.
I'm so careful with the numbers, I just look at it.
Don't. Sorry, I just
I'll write
scratched out the name.
You can go on it. Sorry.
Okay. All right, so the committee report reads, a resolution of the common council to authorize to expend grant funds in the first instance and set up a capital account for the New York Swims project for Andretta Pool improvements. Grant award is $180,000, estimated financial impact for the city is $45,000. Do we have a motion to approve? Steve Shabbat, second by Michael Tierney. Any discussion? Get your bathing suits ready. Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That's unanimously.
Which one did I mess up?
This
That
is,
one, that one
that
was
was for Andretta.
Yes.
All right, the next committee report here. Next committee report reads, a resolution of the common council authorized to expand grant funds in the first instance and set up a capital account for New York Swims project for Kingston Point Beach swimming facility upgrades. Grant total is $3,343,345. Estimated financial impact of the city is $835,836. Motion to approve. Motion. Steve Shabbat makes the motion, seconded by Sarah Pasty. Any discussion? In that case, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brett. Julie? We need to keep letting people know about what we do in terms of the environment. There were some people at our last common council meeting who were widely ignorant of it. I was going to correct them, but then I remembered to speak. All right, the next item on the agenda is the purchase of the Kingston Wilderness.
Yes, thank you. So I'm gonna get us started, but I won't sit there because I think we're gonna show a PowerPoint. So I'm just gonna get started and just say, thank you all for, letting us talk about this project. I will walk through a PowerPoint with you that's just going to kind of go over what this is all about. I know you have a communication that talks a little bit about it, but I felt like for you to be able to really understand what we're talking about, you kind of need to see some pictures and see a little bit of the background. So Julie's going to go over the process that we've gotten to today.
Don't have screen sharing. I asked, Elisa, can you please allow screen sharing?
Yeah. So while that's getting figured out, I'll talk a little bit more.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we've got PowerPoint. Julie's going to go over some of the background, talk a little bit about where we are today with this potential offer that we've signed to purchase this property, and then our partners here at St. Hudson, Seth McKee is the executive director of the Kingston or the St. Hudson Land Trust, and is here to also help answer any questions that we're going to have at the end. And so so we're going to Julie's going to go through this with you, and then I'll take over.
Great. So back in 2016, we started a natural resources inventory, and in doing so, we identified different layers and valuable ecological assets in the city of Kingston, things like recreational areas, riparian buffers, historic resources, biologically important areas, forest cover. We took those layers, which is publicly available factual data, what exists in the city, we overlapped those over one another to create heat maps to understand where the most valuable parts of Kingston are ecologically and historically. In doing so, we created this natural resources inventory composite map, which basically shows us via a heat map in darker colors, the areas that are darker are the areas that have more ecological assets, forests, surface waters, prime soils, the presence of farmland, biologically diverse spaces. You can see that, as you might suspect, the center core of the city is the urban area where it's built up, and the perimeter is where our more valuable ecological assets are, which is why we've made such an effort to do infill development, continue to focus on those centralized areas. But we identified this and could see some major patterns in where our resources were located. The green on this map is existing parkland. From that, we took that map and created an open space vision map, which was not to the parcel level. It was, how do we take this space? How do we create an open space vision of how we want to move forward with land preservation and conservation? As part of that, we identified 3 major zones of the city of Kingston, which we gave sort of casual names to. The Soapus Valley in the north, Hudson Uplands in the east, and Roundout Uplands in the southwest. We also identified places where we might want to put a park, places where, identifying that we wanted more community gardens, 5 miles of trails, 1,000 new trees. We're working towards all of these goals. We're actually about 50% or more of the way towards all of these goals. The one that we're going to highlight today is the southern area, Roundout Uplands, where we identified a priority and a goal of preserving 60 additional acres of permanently protected land. When we created this open space plan, we didn't say that property, that property, that property. We looked at that global composite map and said, hey, this dark area seems cool. Let's preserve 60 acres in that zone. From the open space plan, the next step was the community preservation plan. That was the parcel level. So on a parcel level, we said, this parcel has this value, this parcel has this value, this parcel has this value. That created the community preservation plan, and this is the parcel map. The darker is the specific parcels with the most significant ecological value. This is consistent with our NRI and our open space plan. And as you can see, the same zones are highlighted here. In that period of time, Sojourner Truth Park became a park, so that became green, a substantial acquisition, which certainly helped us advance our open space goals. And you can see the dark area in the southwestern part is the part, as I said, we are focusing on today. In this process, we, the way that the community preservation plan would work is that it would go to a community preservation fund, which it has on this year's proposition number 4. And then when if that should happen, then we would look at these parcels that have any color whatsoever, even 1 point or more, certainly the dark purples, like 30 points of value, and figure out how we would want to prioritize the conservation of those spaces. In the last short period of time, in 2024, we became aware of the fact that the landowner in 7 parcels in that zone was interested in selling parcels of land in that space. So this is the location map for the area that we have appraised. And I'm going to get into detail on what we're looking at, but we're talking about along Abeale Street, between Abeale Street and Wilbur Avenue, all the way out to the city line. It is 7 parcels, 2 of which are in the town of Ulster. A total of 70 acres. And I'll show you photos in just a minute. We have completed appraisals from 2 appraisers, of which both of the numbers came in very close to one another, but we wanted to get 2 different opinions on it. And per their appraisal report, one of them stated, much of the subject site is steeply sloping and rocky. The subject site rises steeply from the street frontages above, making access to it very difficult. This appraisal assumes that the cost to construct the roads and utilities necessary for development of the property appraised are so excessive that it is not financially feasible to construct any buildings on it, and that its highest and best use is to remain mostly vacant and to be used for recreational purposes. So in this evaluation, we said to ourselves, no one's going to build on this, but we want to preserve it so that it isn't clear cut, so that it isn't built for anything else. And so we looked at, we got appraisals for these sites and started working with the landowner, which is Kingston Wilderness LLC. These are the parcels. There is a section sort of in the middle along the creek that is not part of the land. That is a separate landholder. Just to give you a perspective of where we are, as you come down here, This is Abeal Street, this is Wilbur Ave, this is Rodney Street, which currently has a house on it, and I'll get to a better photo in just a moment. We own a parcel up here, so all this blue is the land in question. These are the 7 parcels along Abeal Street. This is abutting the water, and then these 2 parcels are in the town of Ulster, which we are also proposing the purchase of, the whole package, including the 2 town of Ulster parcels. This is this landowner's entire swath of land in that space. This is an aerial photo of the same. You can see that there is a small parcel that's 100 by 100 in the center of it that is owned by a different landowner. And that would not be part of the acquisition. That would be separately, continually held by that current landowner. This is a topo map.
Very small helicopter to get in.
This is a topographic map, which is really hard to tell, but you can just tell by the shading that this is extremely steep. So we're talking like, huge slopes up, huge slopes from every direction. This is a large hill, essentially. This is very extreme slopes going up. And then this is a ridge along the top.
Is that little property in the middle there, do they have a easement to get to their lands as of right now?
My understanding is that, I don't believe that there's an easement, but I think under your state law, you, have to be able to be granted access to your property.
It's landlocked, it's in that lot, pretty
It's-
landlocked.
It's
to
extremely,
me.
it's very landlocked.
Okay.
So,
So that hasn't, so they haven't
We-
done
we
that
would
with
be-
the current property owner,
I don't
so
believe so.
we would just, okay.
Yeah, and I'm hopeful that, as we move toward open space acquisition, we're able to move forward, it would be the city's intent to reach out to this property owner to see if they would be interested in working with us to include that property in our overall, scheme of protecting this land.
These are some photos that will just give you some perspective as to where we are, if these photos mean anything to you. So this is Rodney Street, so as you're coming down Wilbur Avenue and you get to the stop sign and you're gonna go this way to get to Dunn, there's like that triangle space at the bottom. This is Rodney Street, there's one current homeowner up here. And this land on this side would be the land in question. This is Burnett Street, which is down, if you were to keep going off of Dunn and then take your first right onto Burnett before you get to Abeal, it is this property on this side. This is Hamilton Street, so once you're on Abeal, you're going out towards the town of Ulster, or towards town of Ulster. There's a right-hand side across from the marina, and that's called Hamilton, and at the end of this, there's no parking area, there's nothing. That would be, this would be the land here. Not that, that's not the land. This is along Route 213, heading out of the city of Kingston, the land on the right-hand side. All that open space on the right-hand side, not the big gravelly pull-in space. That is not part of it. This is more view from Abeal Street. So if you're down further, like in Eddyville area, looking on the left, that's the parcel. And then there's the town of Ulster city line on the right-hand side. There is no parking lot, there are no parking lots, no major access, no established trails. It's all steep going in. There's no amenities, there's no bathrooms, there's no garbage cans, there's no amenities on it, nothing whatsoever. With the exception of this historic structure, which is up off of Hamilton. Just a perspective on height, because I gave zero perspective whatsoever in this picture. This is like how tall I am. This is like 15 feet tall. And it goes around the corner like that. It's actually not a great picture, but. So some more pictures of this generally what the land looks like. What was it?
Yeah.
I believe that was part of a furnace.
Okay.
Yeah. There was limestone manufacturing that we believe happened on and under the site.
More pictures. There is a substantial cave off of Rodney Street. Again, for perspective of size, this is like a 4x8 dining room table
Wow.
with a little shriny space, so if you, yeah, so it's a substantial cave.
And it's like pretty close to the road too. It's not like really back in.
At the end of Rodney Street, we currently own a parcel that has a home on it that is vacant. This is what that home looks like. And behind it, there is this open space that could be an entrance, like an entree into the land, if we wanted to start to develop it out. This is an overview of kind of the whole conceptual plan. And I'll just walk through it briefly, but then I'm going to hand it over to Seth to speak on behalf of the City of Hudson. So, same picture we were looking at before. The orange is the combined set of parcels. This is that carve out that would not be our property, 100 by 100 space. This also shows the parcel in relation to other large, substantial conservation lands that have recently been acquired. So the Northeast Cave Conservancy Preserve, this is a Beale Street. The Red Fox Ravine, which has the parking lot where that house, the excavator thing knocked over. These are city parcels already. So as you go up Rodney Street, we own some of this land here. And then where this house is and this parcel of land here, which would then connect us to this parcel. So we would be abutting landowners already. This is an ecological corridor that we have acquired recently due to surplus properties. This is along Beale Street. This is Clearwater, this is Chapel Street and Brook Street. This is Clearwater Park, which doesn't really exist anymore as a park, but it still does exist as city land. This is a very remote part of Kingston, but this is what they call the Mason Hill property. This is the Kingston Land Trust's recent acquisition that they're using for the land in Black Hands, which they plan on farming and using that space for the public. And that would be a direct abutment to our property. And we have walked all this land. I walked it with Scenic Hudson, I walked it with the appraisers. Scenic Hudson put together this map for us and drew some preliminary, this could be some trails that we put in if we wanted to. We don't currently think about, have proposals to put in like massive amounts of amenities at all. We're not looking to add more work on the Parks Department. We're not looking to add more staff for this parcel. We're not putting in bathrooms. We're not putting in any kind of amenities at this point, but there could be some very just social trails that were established. Be mindful though, that there's no parking at the end of Hamilton. And this is, unless we create a parking area here, which we may, and I'll let the mayor speak to that, there could be some trails here. And certainly we have been in communication with the land trust for this connection over on this side. I'm gonna hand it over to Seth or Carrie, who's on the phone, or both of them, to speak on behalf of Scenic Hudson, who has been a major partner with us in this discovery phase and also in the negotiations with the current owner. And then I'll hand it over to the mayor to speak about the finances.
Thanks, Julie. Hi, everybody. I'm Seth McKee, as was said. And first, I just want to come in here and congratulate Grant from New York Swims for the Kingston Point. So many communities across the country are just looking to build back what they had after storms and things like that. You saw the New Jersey Shore was built back, Jersey strong, and it's kind of like we're going to make everything exactly the way it was. Kingston is looking forward. It's kind of a concept of bounce forwards that I think is really commendable. You're looking at the future, you're looking at the reality of single rise and adapt. And I think the state has obviously paid attention to that. So just a little aside. So Scenic Hudson, we partnered with municipalities throughout the Hudson Valley to conserve important properties and landscapes. We work in the 10-county area from Westchester and Rockland up to the Albany area. And we've conserved about 50,000 acres, both on our own and in partnership. We were really pleased to conserve what's now Sojourner Truth State Park, and now an adjoining property next to it. And this property here really is a nice bookend to Sojourner Truth. When you look at the open space maps that Julie showed before, where the really most important natural areas are in the city, it's kind of a bookend. You got Sojourner Truth at one end and this property at the other. So we are working, we work valley-wide, but we're also working intensively in Poughkeepsie, Newburgh, and Kingston to try to connect, create new open spaces, conserve open spaces in areas that a lot of residents haven't had the benefit of in the past. The nature gap is really significant. We've worked in rural areas, suburban areas, as have a lot of conservation groups throughout the valley. But that doesn't necessarily make a meaningful difference in the lives of people in our cities. So this nature gap is real, and it's projects like this that can help bridge that nature gap. In addition to what Julie highlighted with all these linkages, this property is less than 1.5 miles from Broadway, from right here. So if you think about that, that's walkable for a lot of people. It's bikeable, and I know the city has great plans and such for making those kind of linkages. So I think it's important to look at this not only as a piece of forest that's on the edge of Kingston, but it's really not far from the core of Kingston. And there's so much demand for this kind of access to nature and open space across the Hudson Valley and in our cities. And it will help. Having this amount of tree cover will help the city of Kingston to address things like the heat island effect. You look at cities where there's a lot of pavement, they're 5 degrees or more hotter than the surrounding area, sometimes 10 degrees. And that is increasingly going to be important for quality of life and just for people to stay safe during extreme weather. So yeah, I mean, the linkages to Kingston Land Trust properties is really exciting. And other properties that the city has taken on, and we're interested in helping. I know they're going to get into that more a little bit later, but unless there's anything else you wanted to cover, Julie, on that.
Thank you.
And my colleague Carrie Watkins Bates is on the phone or on Zoom, and if there's anything I've missed, Carrie, you're welcome to add in if you can hear me.
Thank you, Seth, and thank you all. I think you have done a wonderful job covering it. I'm sorry I can't be there in person.
Thanks. All right, so I'm going to hand it over to the mayor to talk about the dollars and cents.
Thanks. So just this slide kind of breaks down what's also in my letter. But generally speaking, we have been going through a process of getting appraisals and talking to folks in this area where, in terms of purchasing land, the city of Kingston has not done a substantial land acquisition for open space before. And so as the first time, we really leaned on our partners at Scenic Hudson to be able to help us through this process. And for us, we were able to thankfully look at a very close and nearby purchase of Mason Hill to be able to make sure that, when we looked at all of our appraisals that came in, what was a fair purchase price for this type of property. And so Mason Hill was just purchased a year and a half ago-ish. And it was sold for just about $12,500 an acre. And so we had a really great starting off point. In the end, looking at other property sales in and around Ulster County, we were able to come up, I believe, with a very fair offer of just about $12,000 an acre or so to be able to acquire this parcel. As was mentioned, it is abutting one of our current existing city parcels, and what makes this unique for us is that we do have the potential to create some immediate access to the site after a little bit more due diligence, but I think that there is automatically some availability to potentially park and have access to the site, but also the ability to add affordable housing is a really unique potential, because this property adjacent where this parking area would be also has a house on it that's been abandoned for a really long time. We have the ability to look at feasibility of restoring the house or turning it into multiple units and creating affordable housing and nature-based recreation all on one site, kind of with a shared property, which is unique. But I think when we think about open space conservation now, I think it's really important that we are looking at both features, both open space and housing, and recognize that they can go together and it's not one or the other. And I think, Kingston is trying to use all of its tools available to us, and this is just one unique opportunity. And So we're here tonight to be able to get your approval, to be able to allow to, approve this signed offer that's been made between Kingston Wilderness LLC and this and myself. And, one of the things that St. Hudson has been also not only just through technical assistance, but they're actually currently working with their board of directors to be able to provide an amount of funding to be able to help us offset the cost. And so for tonight, what I'm asking for is $435,000 in the way of a bond. This bond would help us contribute our, to this purchase price, as well as help do some of the due diligence that we need to do, like phase one environmental and some other things that are needed. It also, this will give us, by bonding this project, it will also give us ample time to pay back this. And, depending on what happens with the Community Preservation Fund, as we talked about, if that fund is created by the Kingston taxpayers, that could then be a source of funding that actually pays back our bond. So that this would in essence have no cost to, our current city taxpayers from, our general fund. And so that's something that is also a unique opportunity for us. But I do think regardless of that, this is a kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity for us to really secure this. And I know it's been mentioned at other council meetings, but there's a lot happening in Wilbur right now. And, with the efforts to be able to create potentially a national historic district, being able to have this property as a recreational asset in the neighborhood also just, I think, further provides, I think, a resource for the community members and those in Kingston at large to, because of some of the historic attributes that this property has, because of its history in limestone removal and the creation of this chain of hills actually goes all the way down to Rosendale. And so, Rosendale cement was taken out of this at the same time that Rosendale cement was taken out of Rosendale. And so there is really, there's a lot of history on this land that would also be something worthwhile for us to explore, I think, in our process. And so that's our, financial ask for the evening, is to basically authorize the funds and also authorize the moving forward with the contract with Kingston Wilderness LLC. So I will take any questions if I have.
Steve, sounds great. I mean, this is a pretty cool idea. My only concern, moving ahead, I know Julie already said there's no plans for parking lots, anything like that. I would hate to see Wilbur get filled up with cars parked. I mean, there's only two streets down there, and they're pretty narrow to begin with. I do think this is obviously going to attract a lot of people, even us local people who, I'd like to think, yeah, people might walk a mile, but knowing people are probably not going to walk a mile to get to it.
Yeah.
I'm probably a mile away from it, and I doubt that I would walk down to get to the property. So, that's.
Yeah, it's a very good
That's
point.
probably my biggest concern.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we will do, with this work as we move forward is to do some we have to do some feasibility analysis in and around the house site to be able to determine whether the house is actually, capable of being used as a house still. And, how much parking could we possibly fit there. We would also look at the rest of the site to see if there are any other areas that could have parking. We do have some really great partners in the Kingston Land Trust. One of the ARPA nonprofit grants that the city of Kingston gave the Kingston Land Trust actually helped to build their Red Fox Ravine parking lot, which is literally just right across the street. And so I think that there's already that partnership. And so I'm sure that, they'll be quite happy if people that are hiking on this park are parking across the street in their parking lot that they just built. So I think that has already added some additional parking.
Yeah, I just want to make sure
Yes.
that's part of the discussion.
Yes, definitely. We do.
Also, just a reference for spatial understanding. Hasbrook Park is 45 acres. This is 70. So this would be almost twice the size of Hasbrook. Hasbrook is currently our largest park. Besides Sojourner Truth.
So looking at the possible proposed trail coming down from the land in Black Hands,
Yeah.
will they have parking as part of their development of that property? If somebody wanted to sort of walk down there, through our proposed property?
Yeah, so I can't speak to the kind of the future plans, but I do know that the Kingston Land Trust is going to be going through a whole series of visioning processes of what they, because again, their acquisition is also very new.
Right.
And so they're going to be working with the community to also figure out what kind of access they're going to have on their property as well, because these properties are very unique and they're very natural, but both to get to the lands at Black Hands as well as to get to our property on Rodney Street, basically both of them are one-way roads.
Oh,
And so it is very,
I see.
the current access to both of these sites are challenging,
Yeah.
which is also what has helped keep them from an ecological perspective, protected,
Right.
because they haven't really been easy to access.
I
And
see.
so we're gonna have to balance that, and it could require, as we look at globally at different opportunities, it may make us be creative and maybe potentially having to acquire other properties adjacent or near this property to be able to have maybe more easier access. There are some industrial sites along Avila Street that may be underutilized and that may be willing to let us put a parking lot, where they already have some of this land that's cleared. And so we just could create some unique opportunities for some public-private partnership. Because, who knows if there really is such an interest of coming to this park that these folks could create parking for $5 a day. And people can park in their parking lot and then go hiking on our land. And so it could be an opportunity to kind of create some economic opportunity.
So we put parking in the town of Ulster.
Yeah.
So it's 12,000, roughly 12,000 an acre, but with Scenic Hudson covering approximately half, it brings sort of the cost per acre on our end down to 6,300, right?
That could happen. Yeah.
And then I noticed that Scenic Hudson kindly put in the Empire State Trail up above. Is there any, this would be future plans, but easement access through our community preservation fund, assuming it passes?
Yeah.
To get an easement from the Empire State Trail to here? Because biking down Wilbur can be a little harrowing for people. Not that biking on 32 is really much better.
Yeah, so there's actually,
Yeah.
there are planning documents that are being created by partners in, this work about how can we further extend basically the Walker Valley Rail Trail into Kingston. And so there's actually a historic, rail line that went all the way into Kingston, actually crossed Wilbur Avenue. It comes in off of South Wall. It runs behind the jail. And so there is some opportunities, I think, for the future connections to be able to kind of connect. And to be able to connect right to this new Golden Hill project would be fantastic. Off of 32 there.
And then my last question, if that's okay. So you spoke to the sort of cement history. Do we know if there's any Lenape history or pre-Lenape history that is known there or could be sort of highlighted with this parcel?
Yeah, I mean, I would venture to guess that every part of Kingston has Lenape history because they were here well before we were. And so I think that, we would one, look to the archives of Ulster County to see, what was this land used for and how, how was it utilized and if there's any historical records. But I think that anytime we, work on land like this, we also just have to be really cognizant that there could be artifacts from a whole bunch of different folks. And we would want to take that into consideration, before we go bulldozing anything that
We
has
are
it.
going to be bulldozing.
Right. Yes. Right. And so that's one good thing that as being, public parkland.
It's not going to be intensively used.
It won't be able to be intensively used. Where, the site that has the house on it, as a tax foreclosure and a former building site that's already been disturbed, is a good location if we wanted to have a more intensive use. But the rest of the property, it would be our intent, to treat it just like we would Hasbro Park or any other park in Kingston.
And was this back in the day when it was Lime, or maybe it's part of the history of the whole city? So this is like second growth forest, this was clear cut, like in the 1800s?
And did you see any large circumference trees?
I didn't walk every single foot of it, but there wasn't, certainly were not any tracks of old growth forest at all.
Yeah, generally the oldest we see around Kingston are 200-ish years old. Yeah.
Steve Shabbat?
Yeah, I don't see anything on the map, but is there any part of that railroad that would go through this?
Not this close. It's kind of on the other side of the land of Black Hands. It's hard to see, but this is like I think that this is the former rail bed right here.
Oh, okay.
And then they built the jail right on the rail bed. So this is historically this rail trail would it came in and that wasn't really, it eventually went like this. So.
Yeah, just ecologically, we're not aware of any water features, any surface water at all, there's no wetlands, it's forested.
Any other questions? Sarah?
Just one small one. Is the town of Ulster aware that you want to buy property, the city wants to buy property within its town?
Yes, I talked to the supervisor, who was supportive, and recognized that this property owner in particular wanted all of his land to be sold in one transaction. And so we had a variety of different options, but they very much wanted it to be just one sale. And there's some things that we would do with the town to, once we purchase it and once we get it, if allowed, we would go to the assessor's office in March to basically have it taken off the tax rolls as a park. And then I'd have to do the same thing in the town of Ulster. And I believe that I hope there would be support for that. I know the supervisor indicated support. So.
Okay, good.
So what, do we then need to incorporate that land into the city of Kingston, the part that's in town of Ulster? Or are they gonna pay some for the property or?
So we wouldn't have to. I mean, we would to kind of get it off of their tax roll so that basically we don't have to pay town of Ulster taxes. We would basically ask the town board to exempt it on our behalf. Similar to if we had, a water, like some other city function in the town, like we have water lines that run into town and we don't get taxed on those. And so their board would have to approve that though. But no, we haven't talked about annexing any of that or anything at this point.
We just started something big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is just really a very steep hill at this point. So, and this image is old, but this is now actually, if you go to 32, you'll see this is actually a huge solar farm now.
All right.
Oh,
So,
okay.
depending on which image you use, but the solar goes all the way right up
Oh,
to
right.
here now on the site.
Oh, wow.
So it's all solar.
I didn't realize it was that far back.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
If I could just add a comment, if the city decides it wants to move forward with this, we're prepared to go to our board of directors. The only reason we're not able to come here tonight and say we're in for X dollars is because we haven't spoken to our board about it. And just like I'm sure the city council wouldn't like to be preempted, we need to go to our board about it. But we're very interested in helping. So hoping to have that meeting sometime by the beginning of November. At the latest, that week after election day. Or the week of election day.
Do it before, because it's not clear what the mood's gonna be like after November 5th, so. All right. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Tierney, second by Steve Shabbat. I'm gonna ask, it's your ward, do you have an
I
opinion?
fully approve. Everyone down there is really, really excited. We've had a lot of problems with Rodney Street and just different people living there and just different access problems. And people down there don't have a lot of places to go and walk. And so like they can't, I just received a request today, can we get a sidewalk up to Block Park? You know what I mean? Because it's difficult for them to navigate, so to have a place where they can go and walk and know that it is preserved indefinitely will just be, you know, the greatest thing ever, so. They really care about, you know, their land down there. They were really, you know, 5 years ago is when they had the clear cutting issue and all of this conservation down there began. So it's something that everybody's really happy about. I'll be having a ward meeting down there on Saturday. So just to answer any last minute questions before it comes back to the council.
Okay. And then in terms of taking it off the tax rolls, it works out to about 18 cents per person per year. So I think that's a really an important 18 cents that we could spend, each of us.
And
Go around collecting pennies. We'll get Benny to go around.
the $430,000 is actually less than the median price of the house right now. So to put it in perspective.
Okay. Great. Any other discussion? There's no discussion then. I'll call for vote. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
I didn't read it out loud. Hold on, let me read it out loud. Sorry. Authorize Mayor Noble to sign all documents associated with purchase of 7 parcels of Kingston Wilderness LLC, as well as authorize the issuance of a bonding amount of $435,000 purchase price.
That was your.
Thank you both.
All right, and we're gonna, thank you for coming. We're gonna monkey a little bit with the agenda here, so that folks who are in the room, monkey, yeah. So that we can, the people who are in the room can go home. So, no, we're not people, we're alders.
Chief Timpy's behind.
Chief Timpy is here?
He's here.
He is.
He's like,
He
he's
really?
making faces behind your back.
Okay. Good. I almost yawned and was gonna. All right. Chief Tinty,
Yes,
are you here?
I am here.
Come and join us at the table.
Thank you.
Tell us what's going on, what you need money for.
I need money.
Just remember Chief Ray is here, you know.
So it's, say, mid-year budget transfer, but, that's, we passed the mid-year. We do have a couple of accounts, one of the spreadsheets included shows that, we're, over, pretty good on those accounts as far as the overtime monies is high. We have quite a bit of use of police services this year. And that, according to talking to John Tui, is going to come out of fund balance. I've done what I can to do internal transfers from accounts. We do have revenue coming in from the school district, some federal monies, and from Ulster County as well. You can see on the piece, but the majority of it is going to be coming from fund balance, so there is going to be financial impact on this. And as you can see, the biggest one is crossing guard for 28,000, and police overtime for 180. It's big.
You guys have been covering all those festivals.
You can tell, we've had a lot of cops out there.
Yeah.
And, so it does come at a cost.
Well, we appreciate you all getting the crossing guards out there. That's one of the things I get the most calls about.
Yeah, and one of the things that we didn't account for was, we had no choice but to increase what we pay them. Because we just weren't able to get people interested. It's basically 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon. And as many of you know, if you don't have one there,
Oh, yeah.
you get the calls, right? Yeah, right, sorry, you get the calls, so, yeah. But, and we try not to put police officers there when possible, because we're limited with that. We want to use them on overtime to do that. So.
Any other questions about this?
I see the work, I see the work you got
I do too. Yeah.
every day,
Thank you very much.
every festival.
Yeah,
So,
very pleased with our,
the guys are
very well.
He's got a job.
Thank you for coming to my meeting last week.
Yeah, that's pretty good, right?
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion. Second, Shabbat, second by Dr. Tierney. Any discussion? Is there any discussion except for chitter chatter? I will call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the work you do.
Thank you.
You've got a great crew.
Thank you too. We're very fortunate here.
You are.
Okay, so we're going to skip over number 5 and go to number 6, which is Sue Cahill.
Thanks for your patience with our new man.
Yeah.
Okay, so, what I'm here for tonight, was something we talked about last year, the Fireman's Museum, uptown. It's on the National Register. It was hit by a vehicle. We were unaware of the damage, that happened until about 6 months after when we discovered it, when we went there. And, we worked to get some cost estimates together last year. We had one. You guys had put together the funding, authorized the funding. Unfortunately, the contractor was unable to secure the documentation that he needed for us to go to contract with them. Because of it's an exterior wall, we couldn't do the work over the course of the winter, so we secured the site as best we could. To stabilize it. There's an adjacent wall that is on the adjacent property that was also damaged. They have been working cooperatively with us. They left that wall in place, although that wall is going to have to be taken down as well. So we're still working with them, but that's still in place to kind of shore up our wall until we get our repair done. So long story short, we've went out to bid. We had a qualified contractor. The cost is actually a little less, so I guess that's the silver lining on the story. It's a $31,500 cost. We're ready to go. The contractor's ready to go. We've got all the paperwork. He's been qualified. We've checked out his credentials. Excellent mason. So I'm asking for the funding to be reauthorized for $31,500. This is not an issue that I can go back to our insurance company because we have a $50,000 deductible. So it falls short of that. So it's our dime. That's it. That's it in a nutshell. You should have a committee report there and any questions? Nope.
What was the price? What did we approve the first time?
It was 34,000. 34,500. Yes, 34,500.
Will we be able to get it done before winter again?
I'm sorry.
Are we gonna be able to get it done before winter? Wasn't there like concern about?
They're ready to go tomorrow.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they are ready to go. So we are just praying that the weather stays somewhat. It's not a long project for them. The mason's set to go, so I'm hoping we can get it done quickly.
And how long do they estimate the repair period?
Only a couple of weeks.
Oh, okay.
Great, so the report reads, authorize the transfer of funds to landmarks account to cover costs for masonry wall repair caused by vehicle damage. 1, authorized transfer of $31,500 from fund balance. 2, maintenance of buildings, volunteer firearms museum, and provide authorization to spend in the first instance. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion. Second. Steve Shabbat, second by Michael Tierney. Any discussion?
I think this is great. Very excited about this.
Hearing no discussion beyond that, call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Sue.
Great. I'm going to sit here, if you don't mind, and do the number 8 as well, since Alan Mitchell's not here, for skipping over. And I
Okay.
know Natalie wrote communication, but it is a tree grant, so I'm going to speak to that.
Tree grant. Tell us about the tree grant.
City of Kingston Tree Management Plan. This is a grant for $732,374. $732,374.80. It's a New York State PPC grant.
There is no local match required, straight grant. Our urban forester is going to be the project manager. He's been on board with us for about a month. He's doing a really good job so far. He's very excited about this. This grant will allow us to plant 350 trees. So as you heard Julie speak before, the mayor has spoken about it as well. There's a goal of 1,000 trees, so we're well into that already, and this will bump that up dramatically. So he's, the urban forester, will be looking at our street tree inventory that was done a few years ago, going around using that as the basis and looking for other opportunities where we do not have any substantial street trees. This will be street trees, some park tree locations as well. There's also 100 tree removals. As you're well aware, there are many dead trees throughout the city of Kingston that pose public safety issues. So this will hopefully address some of the higher priorities that are identified there. It also includes $150,000, I think, for site work to be done. One of the biggest impediments in looking for street tree planting locations is that the tree pits are not large enough or the soils aren't amenable. So this also provides for funding to accommodate that, which is a good thing, because we get requests for street trees from individuals and they want us to plant them in, a 1-by-1 plot. We can't do that. And they don't have the funds to expand that area, widen that area. This will allow us to do that. So that's a really positive thing. Another thing that this money will do, it will offset some admin costs of myself. The urban foresters, his salary is already being covered under the USDA grant, separate grant for 4 years. So he's 100% covered under that. So this will offset some of my admin costs. So that's the gist of this grant. Looking for you to just authorize us to execute the contract agreements. And allocate the funds and spend in the first instance.
All right, any questions?
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. I had the opportunity to meet Brett, the urban forester, and I have to say, he's like fantastic. And we have a tree in our neighborhood that he came out to see for a constituent, and he just had he was able to answer every question about it. Wow. And actually, he's got amazing people skills, like when dealing with someone that's a little grumpy or a little upset about not getting the news they want, or he was just really fantastic. And I thought it'd be great if there's a possibility he could do some community classes about helping people take care of their trees.
Part of the USDA grant that he's being funded under, it has built within that doing public outreach, and, doing, presentations, going to community groups, doing demonstrations, maybe just doing how to prune a tree so that people know the proper way to do a pruning. It would be open to the general public. Pick a tree someplace in one of the neighborhoods and do a demonstration project. Yeah, so that's part of what he'll be doing as well.
I think the pruning and the fact that there's grant money for the pruning is really important going into winter, because we've had so many storms where the trees are like taking down our power lines. So
it's great to hear.
Yeah.
Great to hear he's branching out. Well, you have to go out on a limb sometime.
How long can we for the fall plant trees, like the street trees?
We have plantings that are going in probably in the next 2 weeks. We wouldn't go much past October 31st.
Okay.
Great. The report reads, request for authorization to execute an agreement and any and all related documents with the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and expend funds in the first instance in the amount of $732,374.80 for implementing the City of Kingston Tree Management Plan. There is no matching requirement, so the estimated financial impact is $0. Motion to approve. Motion.
Second.
Shabbat, second by Sarah Pasty. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you very much.
All right. Natalie. Time for the hot seat.
Requests are not quite as exciting as others. These requests are for projects that maybe you are familiar with. The committee has already approved the application and the execution of contracts for to restore New York Communities grants. So what we're requesting tonight is just authorization to expend funds in the first instance. The first one is for Center for Photography at Woodstock, who is still undergoing construction, but they're almost ready to submit requests for their first reimbursement. And the second one is for St. Joseph's Lofts, who is Charles Blakeman Developers, and that project is nearly complete, and they will be getting ready to submit requests soon as well.
And so both of these are just pass-throughs.
That's right, that's right. There's a match, but it's the responsibility of the property owner or developer.
Okay, any questions for Natalie?
No?
My only question is, when are they gonna change the word Woodstock? Can I put that in here somewhere, required?
I'll see what I can.
I've heard rumors that it's under discussion when they open their new building in January.
That's what I heard.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
at least change it to Ulster.
What?
So do you know the inside?
All right, so the first report reads, request for authorization to expend funds in the first instance in the amount of $1,500,000 related to New York State Empire State Development Restore New York Communities Grant Program, Round 6. The city is not responsible for providing a match. There is no financial impact. Center for Photography at Woodstock is responsible for the required 10% match, so the estimated financial impact is 0. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Drew, second by Sarah. Is there any discussion? We're excited for both of these. All right, hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Now it passes unanimously. The second one. Report reads, request for authorization to expend funds in the first instance in the amount of $1,150,000 related to the New York State Empire State Development Restore New York Communities Grant Program, Round 7. The city is not responsible for providing a match. There is no financial impact. CB Developers LLC is responsible for the required 10% match for communities. The estimated financial impact to us is 0. Discussion, or sorry, motion to it. To do whatever we do.
Motion.
Michael Tierney made the motion, Steve Shadows made the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. All right. Thanks, Natalie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then, Chief Ray, you're here.
I'm here.
You're still here.
All
All right.
I haven't got a John Schultz.
He's in space.
Yeah.
You're in the room here. All right. What do we got going for you?
There's budget transfer.
Yeah, budget transfer, yeah.
So it's to a balance account?
Yes. If I count, so you can go overdrawn.
Okay.
Is your committee report?
Yeah. I do not have it.
Is the OT come to operation in the ambulance?
The majority of it is, yes.
It has cash.
Is there a financial, is no financial?
It's zero.
Correct.
Balance accounts, right, is what you're.
Yes. Overdrawn accounts.
All right. Committee report 3, committee report reads resolution of common council for a budget transfer to balance accounts in the fire department. See attached, estimated financial impact is $0. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion second. Drew Andrews, made the motion, Steve Shabbat. Seconded. Is there any discussion?
How's it going, Steve? How's it going? Running this city. No, gotta check in on it.
Check in on us? We're out, yeah, we're running it every day.
Is there one mistake?
Yeah, I forgot.
There's actually,
Mistake?
If it works out this weekend, I will get another
Why
invoice.
do we do that?
Well,
We got paper for that.
We will, by the middle of next week, have
Actually, we
a
don't
full set of
say
ALS
but
equipment. So now we could have 3 ALS invoices, plus the fourth one for mental health
So
stuff.
we can,
Okay.
Well, basically for a backup. You do maintenance on one.
Right.
You know, you take mental health ambulance and then get myself for assistance, you've got to drive clinician around with her calls, so we still answer the call, it's just,
How you get there?
it gives us a lot more opportunity. It's not a lot stressful, something breaks down, flat tire, it's like, okay.
did we all vote on the budget transfer? Oh.
Okay, so all in favor?
Gotta get out of here.
Opposed?
I'm glad the house remember.
We're trying to
So
keep it.
if we could, we just did it again, the first one twice, that's hurt, and vote 0 then.
What about your hires? I remember at one point you were still, I think, down 3 or 4.
It was in accordance with the MOA, we're down 3. Yeah.
So you still didn't go.
We're still waiting on, word from the SAFER grant, the FEMA SAFER grant, whether or not it's gonna be awarded to us or not. Before we start, that's why we're waiting, we're holding back on that, so. But right now, we have a, medics now. Sometimes they have more medics than firemen. Just put one day.
Oh, that's funny.
Do they get along with each other, or are they like, is it kind of like cats and dogs? And
No, everybody is, everybody gets along, everybody's doing their job, it's really tightly watched. Your brother is on them continuously. You know, this is new to us, it's new to the service, it's new to, we're combining now different. Now I say egos, but they're different people, the people that emergency EMS portion of it. The paramedicine that they provide, of course, the firefighter. We're a firefighter EMT. So, no, they've been doing excellent job. They're doing an excellent job. We did nothing but compliments out there. And we still just, we hold by our word. We'll be there. One way or another. Maybe you drive me in with one day. It's whatever it is during the day. We'll be there.
I know, I see that. I also want to thank you for the work, even with all the work that you're doing, you know, thanking you guys out. You're still finding time to come to community events and, you know, the smoke, stack and with Jeannie in town, just, you know, still finding time for that with a smile on your face.
No, I always said, we have to be out there, we have to, in the fire service, we chose just one weekend a year to do fire prevention.
Yeah.
Whoever could come up with that is ludicrous.
Right.
We should be out there pushing it 365.
Right.
So that's what we're doing, and that's what we'll continue to do. We're in the schools now, this whole month we're in the schools.
Yeah.
And we'll continue to go into events. Or to know they're happening. Send me emails so you know they're happening.
Right.
Yeah.
So I saw that, Michelle Pinchy's bill for, providing care at the scene without transport passed the budget. So has that been signed by the governor? Are we able to bill now?
It has been signed, and we're working with QMC, our healthcare, billing. Like, they have to kind of wait for New York State to promulgate rules.
Right, yeah,
How
make
it's gonna
codes.
work and be able to get all of that set up, but we do expect that when we go to a scene and someone declines to be transported, but we still give them a Band-Aid, something for their arm, a sling, whatever they want, whatever they need, we're able to then now charge their insurance for it.
That's good, that should help, right?
They should
Yeah.
have, RMAs or.
Right.
Quite a few.
Yeah.
But yeah, that should help.
Great.
All right. Okay. We're done. Thank you. You're so used to being here.
Still got the other.
The other thing.
Your fire station.
No.
Fire station.
Oh, that's all short time.
There
Okay.
he is.
Well, speaking of, next
Yeah.
item on the
John,
agenda,
you there?
John Schulteis.
Yes.
There he is.
Get unmuted. Yes, good evening. How's everybody?
Hey, good.
Good.
So this item has to do with the new central fire station, which I was before you guys a couple months ago to present, I think, the rough outlines of the project. We're here with some more specifics tonight. Depending on how much detail you want to hear, I'll start with the request and then maybe you let me know how much detail you want me to go into. So at 18 to 30 East O'Reilly, we have the opportunity to purchase that existing building, which had been a Central Hudson garage as well as the thrift store recently. We have the opportunity to purchase half an acre in a building with about 13,000 square feet. And we've studied the suitability of converting this to the central fire station to replace the current historic but building, which is not really suitable to the department's needs anymore. So the request tonight is for funding in the amount of 1.25 million, which is roughly evenly split between the acquisition cost for the land and the cost of designing the new fire station. So with that said, I do have graphics available if anyone would like to see renderings and floor plans of what we plan to do on this site. Or I can just take any questions you might have.
I'm interested.
Show us pictures.
Yeah, we want pictures.
I saw Beacon had theirs finished and looked really nice, so.
Okay, I need Elisa to give me permission to share my screen.
You're all set, John.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to start here with this. Okay. So here's the site with a rendering, engineer's rendering of what we hope to achieve on this site. So viewed from the current fire station, looking across O'Reilly here, you see the front of the building would contain 5 bay doors. These are large enough for the apparatus. And I'll switch here to a floor plan view as well, or rather, let's just look at the site plan first. All right, this is just going to run a little bit slowly here while I bring this up, but the a little bit here. Again, Jansen Avenue is on the bottom here, East O'Reilly on the left. This is the concrete apron that we just saw. This is the apparatus bay. I can go into more detail in the floor plan. However, broadly speaking, this area here, which was the fire station, would be remodeled to include new sleeping quarters, admin for the deputy chief, a dispatch room, showers and bathrooms for the firefighters. And then this area here would contain living quarters, kitchen, and lounge. And there'd be a large storage area here back of the apparatus bay. We'd also be acquiring this current garage, which faces into more towards Hasbrook Avenue. That can function as storage for things like the department boat, hazmat equipment, things like that. A part of this project would involve restriping the parking lot, even though we won't be acquiring all of that. I'll trace here roughly the 1/2 acre, the building plus the 6 proposed parking spaces plus enough overlap here to allow us to access these back bay doors, as well as install some accessibility features back here. So that's the site plan showing generally the building and the acquisition. As part of this too, we'd also be looking to improve the streetscape somewhat along East O'Reilly to install some sidewalk, the new apron here, and better define the limits of vehicular and pedestrian area there. Let me bring up the floor plan. Just a minute here. All right, so this is a colored floor plan that, again, the red area is the truck apparatus bay. These shaded beige or light brown colors are sleeping quarters, as well as a gym. Also shaded brown down here are the crew lounge and a kitchen dining area. This lighter blue here is a training room, as well as over here you have a deputy chief office and separate quarters for him or her. And then some assorted, the darker, brighter blue here are men's and women's bathrooms and showers, a locker room area. And again, the green down here is storage area, which the fire department, working with them, they have a need for a lot of storage area for their equipment and training aids, things like that. This light purple back here is call it the secondary garage. It does have space within for a backup generator, which would be a requirement for this critical facility. Our scope of work back here in this secondary garage for now is going to be minimal. I can get into some elevation and rendering views of the building here. Any questions on the floor plan while I have this up?
Yeah, there's I see stairs, right, at the back of the bay. Yep. There's not a second floor or basement, is there?
No, but the level, yeah, there is a step up here of 3 to 4 feet above grade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the existing building height there.
Okay.
These stairs here go down to a very small basement space that contains the heating and plumbing equipment.
Okay.
I don't have the basement floor plan, but it's relatively small. let's pull up some the elevation and rendering views here. I'll just comment too while the floor plan is still here. The bay area is proposed to be completely new construction to accommodate the height and seismic loads and that we need. Even though it's of a similar footprint than the garage is there, the current garage is not deep enough or high enough for our needs, so it's simpler to demolish there. I'm just going to move into some rendering views here. So here's a split screen with the current street view, and below would be the proposed. You can see the higher bay doors there. These fire trucks may not be exactly to scale, but we do need those higher doors. You can see a little decorative tower feature here. I'll probably have a better view of that. Here's more of the frontal view of what we're looking at doing with this building. So we'd be looking at, a brick facade, I think, is what the fire department prefers here to integrate with the existing structure, both that you see here and what will remain across the street. Here's another slightly different view, showing again that decorative tower that's intended to add some visual interest and unify the two parts of the structure. This is a view from further down O'Reilly. You can see City Hall Tower in the background there. And you can start to see sort of the streetscape with the enhanced sidewalk and more defined parking that we would establish here. And this is a view from the parking lot area showing, again, that secondary garage that's in the back. Again, minimal improvements to that, just enough to sort of make it secure. You can see the building with the different floor levels does require some accessibility features, such as a ramp that would be built here. And we'd create a couple of accessible parking spaces back here. That's sort of a graphic overview. I'm sure you have questions. I'm happy to try to answer them.
So, good, guys. Okay. So the funding that you're asking for right now is for acquisition, but not construction.
That's right. Acquisition and design.
Design.
Correct. Yeah. So following a final design process, we'd be in the best position to really estimate the cost of this project. I do have some early estimates, but they're not finalized at this time.
I could just add to that, John. I think one of I think why we want to do this in a two-stage process is that as we further, because as you can see, we already have some great design concepts, is that this is really great fodder for our grants team to be able to work, to be able to look for state and federal funding for the construction of the firehouse. There is actually a lot of grant funding available for this, but we need time to find that funding, and secure that funding. And now that we will have kind of a design process going at the same time, it will hopefully align so that, we think that, we could at the earliest start construction 2026, right, John? And so it gives us basically the next year and a half to basically secure some additional funds so that the actual taxpayer dollars that's put into the front of construction will be less than the full construction costs. And we just need a little bit of time to do that. And I think, by securing the building now, as the chief mentioned, like we could open up the doors and start using it for storage as soon as we own the building, right? So there's the benefit of that as well, is that while the heating system in the building no longer is really functional, it's good enough for us to be able to store. And as people who drive by it every day, you'll see that we are technically already and have been using it for the last decade to park our vehicles in front of it. And so another reason why I wanted to move so swiftly on purchasing it and why, working with Westchester Medical Center as the owner, they've been really willing to work with us because if someone else bought this building, we would be in terrible shape because currently we use it as a necessary function of the fire department to park our fire trucks there almost on a daily basis. And so without this building, even if we do nothing to it, we need it to be able to really operate. And so but that's the grant piece to be able to help pay for this.
Which building will the ambulances be in?
The ambulances will be in the existing building now.
Okay, so they could some floors.
The floor.
Yeah,
The
they-
floor will stay in
yeah.
the ambulance. The weight of the ambulance, the floor will stay in
Sarah, then Michael.
Oh, so in this design process, how far along will this money get you? Will it get you to bid documents for construction?
Yes.
That's our intention, yes.
Okay, great.
And we're not purchasing the Central Hudson building behind it?
No, that'll remain a active substation. It's not for sale, nor do we want it.
Okay.
It's,
And then the last time you were here, John, you said you were gonna try, or maybe it was you, Steve, about parking spots. Are we able to get some parking spots? And do you know how many yet, or is that still being worked on with that?
Yeah, well, we definitely for sure have 6 that will be deeded to us as part of this. And then I think there's, discussion about trying to get an agreement, a multi-year agreement. I don't know how many years that would give us access to more.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think last time you were here, you said 6, so that's.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Andrew?
And then where are the funds coming from?
So we're proposing for the 1.25 million to be able to bond for that. We have so far used ARPA money, just over 150,000-ish, or to be able to do all of this work. So all of this has been free to us locally, but we are ready to kind of take the next step with a more formal process. And so what would happen generally with these bonds, and John was here, is that if we bond the 1 million this evening for the acquisition, the design, if at a future point the common council bonds for the actual construction, this bond would basically be rolled into that bond, and it would then be one bond at some point in the future, which we then could deduct any grants that we got in this process to kind of reduce our overall total cost at some point down the road. But there's no reason for us to bond the full potential amount now because we just don't have a detailed enough cost estimate to make it reasonable for us to request that, at this point.
It's great.
I think this is really great because, years ago, we were looking at moving, right? Like, we needed a new firehouse, we had to move, but people really wanted us to stay at the central location. And so it's the best of both. We get to stay there and acquire another building and expand.
All right, any other questions?
Yeah, so for the living quarters, will most of the department now be living here at the old station? Will be split?
There'll be minimum 4 in the new station, and there'll be 4 in the old station. The ambulances will be.
And how many firefighters go on each apparatus? 4?
No, on that station right there, there's 3 on engine 1 and a deputy.
Okay.
Anything else?
It's built for, we have it designed for the future. So there's actually a 75-foot ladder truck that can fit in there, which would bring a ladder to the midtown for the 4-story buildings that are popping up all over the place. So this is designed for the future. And the room in the back that John talked about, the big room in the back is not only training room, is going to be set up for an EOC, which is Emergency Communication, Emergency Operations Center, for storms or anything like that, so that, the department heads can all be there, all in one area, and basically take care of all emergencies from there, and it's within the city. So it's for the future.
Where's our current emergency operations based on?
Chief
No, we keep it at 19 East O'Reilly Street, it's just,
Okay,
you know, we hodgepodge it together.
yeah.
We have no easily accessible
Correct.
space,
Mhm.
to have that, and so it ends up being, challenging for us to bring everyone together. Because, the way, just the way the building is designed, it was built a long time ago, and so it's not really set up to be able to have the kind of space and communication needs of having computer terminals everywhere and, really working through an emergency situation. We tend to be disjointed currently during large emergencies, kind of the police department, fire department. It's hard to fit us all in the same room at any one location, whether it's a training room down at KPD or the chief's training room. It's hard without all of the outlets to plug into and things that just our older buildings are just not designed to be able to have everybody walking with a laptop and handheld radios and computers, monitors. It's just this new training room / EOC will really help us have a central location for when these emergencies happen. And, the chief and I will be back at Laws and Rules to talk about all of our emergency management plans that are going to be in front of you next week. So it's really kind of perfect time because they all point to the need to be able to have kind of this emergency center.
Great, thank you.
Welcome to work now. More silence.
You said.
All right, anything else? Any other questions? All right, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion. Second.
Drew Andrews made the motion, second by Michael Tierney. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I forgot to read it again. For the plan here tonight. For the planned acquisition of a building located at 18-30 East O'Reilly Street, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute all documents for the acquisition and authorization and authorizing the mayor to execute a contract for design of a fire station on the site. The design and acquisition are a type 2 action under secret, authorizing a bond resolution for $1.25 million for these purposes, estimated financial impact $1.25 million. All right. No discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, we did that? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay, great. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you.
Oh, I can help out too, but, great.
And Matt's here too. in case there's a question.
Oh, I was wondering
Yeah.
if that was
Yeah.
the whole time.
Not my son. He doesn't watch the meetings. As much as I would love that to be the case. No, I'm
Yeah, so should I be asking you the documents? Now, we were just talking about you, but that was it. Just.
Yeah, all right. If you don't need my assistance, I'll go back to work.
Do you want to do the last two then? Then Steve could leave if he wants?
Yeah, it's actually 3 re-levies.
It should be two.
There's
There's
two,
3.
is there something else?
There's also one from the clerk.
Can I see that one? Is that different than what's already in the building safety?
It's my understanding that although the clerk is the one who's sending out the notices for that, it was added to the building department re-levy.
Right, so it should just be two.
Right, that's why it's unclear, because it looks like it's a 3rd one.
There was a lot of going back and forth between us figuring this out, but it should be two. The buildings department, which also includes the clerks, and then DPW.
Okay. So, re-levies, those folks who are new to the game are fees that are added on tax bills when they haven't been paid through the course of the year. So the first one then is actually comprised of all those from the building department. plus one from the clerk's department. And there is no, well, there's no, committee.
And you won't see it on the agenda, but if anybody wants me to forward you it, would you like to? I mean, it just breaks down $100 from this property, it doesn't tell you why. Does anybody want to see that? Like what the violation was.
Right, but it tells it by the property, so.
Yes, which is why we didn't put it on the agenda.
Well, I can also send it around. I can just pass it around.
Oh, yeah, that'd be fine.
So I'll just pass it around with the,
Make sure your house isn't on there.
Exactly.
let's see.
That's right.
Don't have any.
I don't have blank.
I don't even have like. Right. We're clearly in a special place. The Mets are going to the National League Challenge.
Saying it out loud jinxes it.
Save. Yeah. RELEVY, is that what you're asking? What they call relays, plural.
Right, which is reason why we don't put it in.
Somebody who hasn't paid their fees.
Just trying to get
So you
something.
never.
It's up to, it's up to still addresses.
Oh, that's what addresses the thing.
It has addresses and the section lot. And then so for everyone that. Building
You could just say approved building department and clerk's department.
Section one lot, and then it just gets put on that tax.
Tax bill.
And then.
No,
No.
That's good.
Just says department building.
Tax bill and then
Relay.
they just pay it.
To assess the fee, you never get away with not paying it because it.
Just say, you know, approved building department.
And some people just do that, like that's just how they operate.
Just pay it all at once.
They come in, they just wait, they don't pay everything, they just basically just pay it once.
Yeah, then I don't do it down. That's just a financial error. Beginning, that's where you're like, it's in there, it goes in their departments.
Right. But that works. I mean, we don't have to do that, the actual,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, we're just sending it around. with-
maybe I could break see attached.
Yeah, that's, yeah,
Consider people
Yeah.
sometimes, and I try, I want everybody to succeed.
Me too.
We all, we want people to succeed. We don't like.
All right, so this is the first one, resolution of the common council to relevy various building department fees as attached. I will send this around for you to look at if you'd like to. So we have a motion to approve. Drew Andrews, second by Steve Shabbat. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Please make sure those things stay together. And the next one is from the Department of Public Works, same thing. So the report reads resolution of the common council to relevy various Department of Public Works fees, see attached. We have a motion to approve. Motion. Shabbat, second.
Second.
Sarah Pasty, is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. And as with that one,
Thank you, good night.
Thanks for your work, Matt, on the re-levy issue. I know you put in a lot of time this past week.
No, that's what I'm here for.
all right, we've got a couple more to do too, so don't jump up after you sign that one.
We have a couple more re-levies.
No,
No, we skipped number 5 and 7.
Oh, right, this is what we're gonna.
Sorry, I'm sure. This is you.
Oh, damn, so many papers. Oh, wow.
It's a lot of pages.
Oh,
Or like double their speed.
what's
Or
that?
like double their speed.
No, that's good.
That's a pretty lovely.
You can re-levy your re-levy. All right, so this is in Parks and Recreation. This is an internal transfer of $15,110 to reconcile department accounts. And so since it's within their department, the estimated financial impact is $0. We have a motion by Steve Shabbat, second by Drew Andrews. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. And then number 7 here in the wastewater treatment facility budget. The report reads description, internal transfer from account, et cetera, to other account to pay for replacement parts for a headworks screen at the wastewater treatment facility. I was actually a little confused because Alan in his overall report says there's no financial impact, which suggests they have taken the money from within their department, but he wrote then financial impact of $8,000. So I'm putting 0 for now, but we'll check on that later on. Everybody clear on that?
yes.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve? Steve Shabbat, second by
Second.
Michael Kearney. Any discussion? There's no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone, for your kind attention, your participation, and we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Second.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Elisa. Thanks,
Good night.
Matt.
Thank you.